After my last long ride, I'm starting to take my nutrition and intra-fueling a little bit more seriously. So I know supplements can be expensive. I'm going to be trying something the inexpensive way. So we got a nice big package here. And I was a little worried at first because I've never heard of this company. So I was like, I don't know if this is legit, and the price of it just seemed really good. So this is one thing. Like, my last long ride wasn't even that long. It was like just over 2 hours. So it's really not even that bad. And my legs, they just crapped out on me. So what I'm doing now, oh man, there's another box, is trying to take this a little bit more seriously. Get into the next package. Gotta be a little careful there. Be careful. Cut that bad boy open. Cocaine! I was not expecting it to come in a bag like this. On the website, I don't even know if this is legit. So on the website, the picture is actually of the bag with their branding on it. But I just got a white clear bag of Maltodextrin. And that's going to be the plan. Oh, there's not even the... I was supposed to get a bonus gift of creatine. It's not even in here. That's bogus. Well, I bought 24 kilograms of Maltodextrin. Got one more. Two more. I guess, what's 24 divided by 3? 8? 8, 16, 24? I guess this is 8 kilograms of Maltodextrin. Well, I'm pumped to get this in because on the website, it said it was supposed to get here Monday, and it's here today, and I got a long ride tomorrow. So I guess I get to try it out for tomorrow, and I'll bring you along for that, see how it goes. And I was planning on adding some maple syrup to it, so I'm not really sure what I'll do, but I'm kind of pumped to try it out to see how it goes. Oh, this is only 2 kilograms. This is only 2 kilograms. 2, 4, 6. This is only 6 kilograms. Interesting. Interesting. Maybe there's a second order coming. Alright. I'm going to be testing this out tomorrow. And another thing that I really wanted to try out is making my own gels, because that can be expensive. But it's not really a gel, it's going to be a gummy. So I got some gelatin here, and then I also just bought some maple syrup. So it's going to be maple syrup gummies. Hopefully it does work. Hopefully it does turn out well, because I'm going to be using this tomorrow on the bike ride if it does work, and it does work out well. So I'm going to try and make this. Okay, we're just letting them sit right now. Hopefully it works out when it's done, and I don't know what it would be called, but when it's made its form. But I used a lot more maple syrup than I anticipated. I used this whole thing. This is 500 milliliters. That was a lot more than I originally anticipated, but I think I tried to make as much as I could so I don't have to do this process again, and then this will hopefully last me. Depends on how many times I cut it up into different pieces and how many times I want to break it up into. So hopefully this works. Hopefully I'm able to break it up into a good amount of times, because I used a whole bottle for this. But if it does work, oh man, we're on to something here. We're on to something here. New supplementation for our bike rides. Okay, they're all tough now, and I'm gonna test it out, but it's around 2,300 calories. So I'm thinking I'm gonna split it up into about 20-ish packages. So it'll be about 100 to 110-ish calories per package. And then hopefully whenever I just need them on a long bike ride or a long run, I'll be able to take 1 or 2 of these, and then I'll just be able to easily pop it in my mouth. So I'm gonna test it on out here. Ooh, that's tough. there's not much flavor to it. Just kind of, yeah, there's no flavor really at all. Maybe like underneath of it, you can kind of see it where it's, I don't know if the gelatin kind of rose to the top, but yeah, there's not much flavor to it, unfortunately. But I mean, if it has the calories, if it has the sugars, if it has the carbs in it, and it does the job, it's good, but there's not much taste to it, which is kind of a disappointment, but oh well. It's 2,300 calories. I thought I would try it out. Tried it out, now I at least know, and maybe, hopefully, the lower part of it is actually a little bit more tasty. So yeah, this is the gummies, and then I guess I'm gonna try them out tomorrow on my bike ride. It's been raining the past few days, so I had to set up shop in here, get on the trainer, but cleared up today. A little windy out there, a little chilly. So we're gonna set up the bike here and then head out. Got a 3-hour, 15-minute ride. We got our Maltodextrin in our bottles. Did 100 grams in each. And then in one of them, I got a electrolyte pack in there. And then the other one, I used a lemon, squeezed some lemon juice in there. And then I also added a little bit of honey. Just to try it out, see how it goes. But I'm gonna eventually try it out, just plain, see how that tastes. But yeah, we're gonna be testing that out, and then also I'm gonna be bringing along some of my maple syrup gummies and see how those go with like a full bite and a full actual serving, see if there's any actual flavor in, say, the bottom of it, because the top didn't really have any flavor, and maybe I just didn't have enough. So we'll see if a full serving actually has some flavor and see how the maltodextrin goes, because last ride my legs just crapped out and I couldn't even handle a 2-hour ride. So this is going to be a 3-hour, 15-minute ride. I think the efforts are going to be harder, so we'll see if the maltodextrin actually does its job and is able to keep me in there and keep up with my buddy that we're going to be heading out with again. And we'll see how it goes, because it's another windy day like it was last time. So it's going to be very similar conditions. We'll see if the maltodextrin does its job. Well, that ride went a lot better than last week's, and the good news is that was probably a lot windier than last week's ride as well. We did 3 hours and 15 minutes, and there was a couple segments where it was on some thresholds, and then for the rest, like 2 hours, it was basically easy. But our average speed was a lot faster, and I think a few contributing factors factor into actually why I was able to do that and maintain it. And it comes back to, I did legs the week before we did that ride, and that was the first time I did actually a leg workout in 3 months. So my legs, I think, were still feeling a little bit sore from those 2 workouts that I did. And this week I haven't done any leg workouts. And the second one is I had a lot more drag on me. So I was still wearing a baggy shirt. I got something in my mouth. Got a hair. So I was still wearing a baggy shirt, but the other time I had pants on, and I also had a raincoat. So I was wearing a lot more baggier stuff, which I think created a lot more drag. But I think the good news is the maltodextrin really did its job. I had 2 of them, like I said before, and I think a third one would have been perfect, where I don't think I would have needed any more. I was starting to get a little bit sore towards the end, and then the maple syrup, that actually turned out pretty well. It was like a harder, more thicker consistency of Morton, and it reminds me a lot of it because the flavoring isn't very overpowering. There's a slight flavor to it, so once I got more into like the bottom, it does taste a little bit more like maple syrup, but it's not very overpowering. So it does remind me a lot of Morton, just like a harder version of it, more of like a gummy. So I did really like that. And then the maltodextrin, I thought that was really good. The one with the electrolyte mix, I thought it was really good. It was just like, I think the maltodextrin has a slight sweetness to it. So when I add it with the electrolyte pack, it adds a little bit of a sweetness to it. And then with the other one, I did the honey and lemon juice, and then it adds another sweetness factor to it. So I just thought both of them were really good. I still do want to try it out just plain on its own, but I'm looking forward to taking that because honestly, I do think it helped out a lot with that ride. That ride could have been really bad. We did the whole ride home basically was into the wind, and honestly, my legs just they didn't really give out. Whereas last time, they gave out, and it was an hour less than what we did today, and our average speed was a lot slower than what we did last time. So I think those two contributing factors of working out and then also having more clothing, which created more drag, played a factor into it. But at the same time, I think being able to hydrate and carb up a lot played in another big factor as to why I was able to maintain it. So I'm really looking forward to actually taking that. And that's one of the few things that I am going to start to get better at is intra-fueling, because that's not something that I do very often. And I think I never really realized it because it was always on my easy efforts. And whenever I do harder efforts is when I'm going to actually notice it and be like, okay, I need something to refuel. So going to be intra-fueling on workouts more often now. And basically any ride that's over an hour, maybe like hour and a half, 2 hours, I'm going to plan on bringing at least one of those. So really looking forward to that. Glad I purchased that and doing a lot of this makeshift homemade stuff. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that stuff. All right, so I ended up talking with my cousin, and then I decided, and what he basically told me is you don't want to be fueling for anything less than an hour and a half. So I'm not actually going to be fueling for anything that's like 60 or an hour and a half with my supplements that I got here. And the reason being is when you're on the Ironman, your body's not going to be able to absorb and use all of the stuff that you're going to be consuming throughout the day in time. So basically you want to have your body become fat adapted. So that's the main reason why I won't be fueling for anything under an hour and a half. And then I also heard from someone else that you don't want to be having 100 grams of maltodextrin. What you really want to be having is somewhere close to 60 grams, because your small intestines I feel like I said that funny. Intestines can't absorb and process everything within that amount of time, within like an hour span. So basically what I was told is to get pure fructose. So that's what I got here. I just ended up buying some of that, and then I got maltodextrin here. So what I'm going to be doing, I heard 60 grams of that, and then he said 30 grams of fructose. But then I looked online what Morton's mixture or what their ratios were, and what it was 1 to 0.08 a ratio. So basically what I'm going to do 60 grams of maltodextrin and then 48 grams of fructose. And I got a nice long ride here. Going to be my longest ride I've ever done. It's going to be 5 hours long. So I'm basically going to be prepping all my water bottles. I got 3 of them. The plan is 48 grams of fructose and then 60 grams of maltodextrin, and I think that's going to be giving me a good amount. I'm also going to be bringing 2 of my maple syrup gummies, and then also an RX bar, and then also a Morton gel. So that's what I'm going to be doing on this ride. It's going to be my longest ride I've ever done. Most likely distance-wise, I got a lot of elevation gain on this ride, so it's going to be close to my actual longest ride distance-wise, but it's going to be my overall longest ride time-wise for sure. So going to be doing that and heading out, and we'll see how this goes. that was a really solid ride that I just got in there. Really happy with basically everything about that. I'm seeing a lot of good improvements. I just got a power meter installed, so this was my first ride actually using the power meter. Really enjoyed using it, and it was really nice to have it because my workouts that get synced, they're wattage based, and I wasn't able to actually upload them as watts or power outputs, and I was uploading them for my heart rate, and I really struggle with my heart rate getting elevated on the bike. So whenever it said like zone 4, it wants me at about 160, and I can barely get to 160 when I'm going completely all out on the bike. So having the watts there was, or the power, was really nice. The only thing that I'm not a big fan of is that it's constantly beeping saying, oh, you're above range. Okay, you're in range. Okay, you're above range. You're in range. And it did that basically throughout the entire ride. I did hear that you are able to update that and you can turn it off or figure out how to not have it just constantly do that. So I might try and work that in to try and do that because it got really annoying. But overall, really happy with this ride. New longest ride, 97 miles. I'm probably going to continue to get higher and higher as the training program goes on because it just basically keeps adding, I think, 15 or 20 minutes each week. So I'm assuming next week I'm probably going to hit 20 or 100 miles. So that'll be a first. But yeah, with the elevation gain, 4,200 feet of elevation gain. So I thought that's really good with the average speed of 19.7 miles per hour. I thought that's really good, especially for myself. Over 5 hours, I think that's just really good for me because, especially for Lake Placid has 6,000 feet of elevation gain, so it's close, and then that's about 15 miles shy. And honestly, I'd be really happy if I got around 20 miles per hour, and I'm pretty sure majority of this ride was at an easy effort. So if I'm able to do this at an easy effort, I feel like I'm gaining a lot of confidence for actually Lake Placid. So I'm really happy with that. Average power looks pretty decent. I'm assuming that's what I would probably be averaging at Lake Placid, 197 watts. I feel like that's about the range I would want to be in. I don't know. That made me think that maybe I was a bit high on the easy parts. I don't know. We'll see. But I did feel really good, and I'm assuming a big aspect of that is actually properly fueling and intra-fueling for this with like the maltodextrin, the fructose, and then also having my maple syrup gummies, having RX bar, and just fueling before, just making sure I'm properly well fed, and I got a lot of carbs in me. I got a lot of sugars, and I think that really helped me be able to get through it. Yeah, there were some parts where my legs were absolutely dead, but that was just on a lot of the climbs. And then after the climbs, it was like, okay, now I'm just kind of chilling and being able to go through everything. So overall, I thought this was a really good ride, really happy with it. And then after the bike ride, it was a quick off the bike onto a or off the bike run, and usually it's just an easy run, but this one was actually 15 minutes at race pace, which I believe was probably a little bit too fast because I don't know if I'll be able to hold that for a full marathon, especially after 112 miles on the bike, and then it was 5 minutes easy. But I would say that my legs felt really good. I was feeling fairly comfortable. It was definitely a good push at the race pace, but I was feeling I could probably do it for a good distance more. I'm not sure how much longer, but I don't know if I'd be able to keep that same pace for a full marathon. I think I was about 650 per mile. I forget what I was at, but somewhere in that range. And I don't know if I'd be able to hold that for a full marathon. If I could, my training's come a long way. But yeah, I think a big aspect of me feeling so comfortable on the bike and then off of the bike with this run is properly fueling, having enough carbs in me, enough sugars, and just being able to properly and smart, I guess, fuel. Because before, when I was marathon training, I would not fuel intra or anything, and I don't think I would be able to do this currently without any of that fueling. So I do think that played a huge aspect and role into actually having these performances today, and I'm fairly happy with it. I'm seeing a lot of progress, which I'm really happy about. And then lastly, I ended up buying the maltodextrin and the fructose after I did the maple syrup gummies, and I was thinking that I could probably add that stuff into the maple syrup gummies to see how it turns out. It's going to add more sugars, it's going to add more carbs, and I'm assuming with the fructose, because it's really sweet, it's got that sweetness to it. I actually did a bike ride when I ordered the fructose. I didn't get the fructose in time for my long ride, so I just ended up using pure sugar, like table sugar, and that worked as well. And it's got really similar sweetness to it, so I'm assuming if I add fructose and maltodextrin to it, it's going to add a little bit more sweetness to the actual maple syrup gummies, so it might actually give it a little bit more flavor and a little more sweetness to it. And then at the same time, it's also going to give it more carbs and more sugar. So I think if I do end up making it again, I'm going to try adding that stuff in there, and if I do, I'll try and document it as well. And I'm hoping that it adds a little more sweetness to it, because right now it's kind of bland, but I mean, if it does and gets its job done, where it's giving me the sugars, it's giving me the carbs, I can't complain with that, because it's literally like $15 for, I think it was 20 plus gummies, and that lasts me, I still got a few left, and it's lasted me over a month, so I can't really complain about that. And then if I had just add some maltodextrin and fructose to it, I think it's just going to help make it a little bit better, and more sugars, more carbs, and I think that's just going to have a better benefit. So this is just me trying to document, me trying to be a little bit more cost effective with my actual training regimen and training supplements, because I know it can be pretty pricey, especially if you are trying to train with what you want to be using during race day. And for me, I do plan on using Morton. So I'm not sure that's why, if I'm going to do the gummies from here on out, because I'm getting pretty close to race day where I might start using Morton gels. But maybe I will try the maple syrup gummies on race day. Haven't confirmed it yet, but I'm assuming I'll go with Morton gels, just because it's a lot easier. They hand it out during the marathon, and I think it's just going to be a little bit easier to do that. But I'm fairly confident that I'm going to use the maltodextrin and the fructose, because that's working really well. And what I did find is if I add a little bit of peppermint tea in there, it actually gives it a nice little flavor to it, and it actually tastes really good. So I'm probably going to use that on the bike for my fueling, but I'm most likely going to be using the Morton gels for the marathon, and I think that will work out pretty well. Usually I have a good stomach. We'll see how it goes, but I'm going to have to start incorporating that a little bit more. And this is just me trying to document my intra-fueling and trying to be a little bit more cost effective, because I do know that supplements can be a little bit pricey, especially if you are trying to go with the higher end types of products. It can be a little bit pricey. So that's where I'm currently at. I'm trying to go a little bit more cost effective, do it myself type of deal. And I'm honestly liking it right now. So I do appreciate you tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one.